Hello, this is Stephen. I have an interesting message I'd like to put out there today because of all we're seeing and witnessing, which is going on in our world as I speak. Over the last 6 months, we've seen protests in Greece, France, the UK, and recently in Tunisia, which has toppled that government. We also are witnessing, as I speak, in Egypt, which is taking down their government. We're seeing these protests spreading. They've spread to Albania, Jordan, Lebanon, and Yemen. To me, there's a metaphorical message here. And that message is rather simplistic, if you will. To me, we're seeing a resistance growing globally to the idea of power and control. Power and control for millennia now have conditioned us into a false belief in who we are and what we as human are about. Who are we and why are we here? Let me offer you a few quotes and food for thought, if I might. It's stated that now you are just like me. A great teacher once said that even the least among you may do these things, and greater than these may you do. That same wise teacher also said this, that you look here and you look there for the kingdom of heaven, yet you do not look within you. The first quote, in theory, was stated by what we refer to as the Creator. The second two were offered to us to understand by an incredibly wise, great teacher. You see, to me, we are divine. We always have been. And I think today what we're seeing in the world is the removal of the conditioning that we've been experiencing for, well, ever since we've been here. We're seeking that divine within. And here's the funny thing. We don't really have to look for anything. The real key to awakening to our true nature is just to realize its very presence within us. You see, the reason I offered those quotes is this, is because if the Creator is in heaven and heaven is within us, where does that put the Creator? Is it not within us? What if we are already as great as the greatest of beings that have ever lived? What if there's nothing really to search for? One of my teachers in India one day asked me this question. He said, Stephen, what is it that you seek? And I offered my response. And he looked at me and smiled and matter-of-factly stated these words, good, you will never find it. And I looked at him and asked him why. And here's what he offered. He said to me that as long as you seek a thing, then it means you do not have what you seek. But the moment you stop seeking it, it will indeed find you. So what is it we're looking for out there in this world? What is it that we're attempting to become when we are already everything that we could ever conceive? We are already living divine. You see, if we're like the Creator, doesn't that mean we are like the Creator? And if we can do what that great teacher, the Christ, did, then why is it we're not doing it? Well, it's simply because we've never been allowed to go in that direction, which is within ourselves. We've been led to live in an external world when we are such internal creatures. We're highly sensitive and we're a lot more powerful than we think. And as long as this turmoil continues to increase and grow, as stated in my last video that I did, then we're going to see Mother Nature mirror and reflect us. So what's this all about? We're seeking freedom, freedom within ourselves. Don't seek freedom from a government or from a religion. Don't do that. Your freedom is already within you. It's already yours. It's just, do we allow ourselves to experience it? The truth is, no. We don't see ourselves as a state of perfection. But even in that idea, that's an illusion. Why do I say that? Well, because if the Creator is divine and it's the epitome of perfection, then why would it create less than perfection? And if it did, wouldn't it make that idea a joke somewhat? Indeed it would. We are already, every one of us, what we seek. We are the most powerful thing in our reality. After all, that same creator said that we have dominion over all things. Dominion over all things doesn't mean we're better than each other. In fact, the truth is, we're all equal. It doesn't matter what part of the world you live in. It doesn't matter what the color of your skin is. No single individual human is better than another. We cannot be, because equality was also created in the same equation. It's just we don't live that way. We've been led away from those things. And the very things that we're witnessing in our world today is a huge growth process for each and every one of us on an individual level. If the idea of mass consciousness is true, and the idea of supermind is true as well, then I have an automated camera here and it just has a mind of its own. So I'm just going to let it do what it does. Um, you see, it's up to us to live it. It's up to us to live that divine nature. It's up to us to be peaceful within ourselves. It's not thinking about being peaceful. It's simply about living in a state of peace within ourselves. You see, to myself, as I was taught while studying as a monk in India, we are the most sacred temple of life that there is. Why? Because we are the temple of life. We have heaven within us. The divine is within us. So all the earmarks are there. It's just a question of whether we choose to live it within ourselves and to be able to share that divine nature with all people. There's no difference in any of us. When you feel emotional pain, it's the same as the emotional pain that I feel or any other human would feel. Grief is grief. And we can all understand it. And if we all learn to appreciate the idea that we're all identical in so many different ways, that we share the same experience, the only way that we could ever create peace is by being peaceful within ourselves and sharing that, honoring life for the gift that it is. That gift is a sacred thing. Life is a sacred experience. See, to me, the human can be anything it wants to be. And as long as we pursue that lower nature in a world that we've created, economies that we've designed that now own and control us, that's another thing that we're seeing in our reality today. So, ladies and gentlemen, my whole idea here is if we're ever going to achieve that divine state, then set it free now. The biggest thing that blocks us is how we've allowed ourselves, if you will, to become the conditioned creature that we are. And what we're seeing is us breaking the bonds of that conditioning. And hopefully, it's so that we take that leap within ourselves to live that divine state and to be in that divine state constantly and share that divinity with each and every human that we encounter. When we learn to free ourselves from the conditions that we've been put under for so long in the idea of power and control, doesn't it make sense that we now become unconditional? Doesn't it mean we become freer in our experience? Doesn't it mean that we achieve the depth of our own true selves? That divine state is there. Let me ask you a question. Let's say that you were the creator of this beautiful place called Earth, and you wanted your creation to be just like you. That would mean you would have to have them seek that out. So my question to you would be this: how would you do it? And where would you put it? Actually, that understanding is quite simple. And here it is. You would make it so simple that nobody would believe it. Not only that, you would end up putting it in plain sight, knowing that very few would be able to accept it. You see, we all are already what we seek. It's just, as already shared, a matter of living it and a matter of sharing it with each other in our world. So as we progress over the next maybe year and a half, we're going to see more and more people awaken to the truth of that. We're going to see more and more people moving themselves silently and quietly away from the idea of power and control. And that's the only way to do it. After all, if we look at Gandhi, didn't he get his own country back without ever firing a shot? Wasn't he just peaceful, and didn't he just stand his ground within himself? Why not can we all do that? That would be a much better idea than the path that we're seeming to follow now. This turmoil that we're seeing out there can actually be a teacher of peace. After all, isn't non-acceptance the teacher of acceptance? Isn't non-peace the teacher of peace? Isn't selfish being the teacher of selflessness? All we all have to do is just look at the opposite. Be aware of your own selves as this turmoil enters more and more into consciousness. After all, we are connected to it. And if we're connected to it, then are we not connected also to the divine? Isn't that who we are? It's just once more a question of whether we choose to accept that nature within us so that we unfold from one perfect moment into the next perfect moment. Life, after all, is for us, created by us, to teach us something. And what if that something is what's being shared with you in this little short video today? To achieve the divine, it's just a matter of opening yourselves to the full extent of what life can be. I've often shared with people, and I mean this in a humorous sense, life is blunt force trauma. We get the full impact of everything. We get it mentally, we get it emotionally, and we get it physically. What's its purpose? To awaken us. To awaken us to the truth of our own nature. After all, if we're just like the Creator, and we can do what that wonderful great teacher did, and even greater things, then why not look within for the truth of our own divine self? We'll never find it outside of ourselves. So the unrest that we're seeing in our world today is actually taking us quite possibly down the very path that's being shared with you in these few words and in this few moments. When we awaken to the dynamics of that true being, it literally changes the individual's lives. Their eyes become wide open. Another thing that's shared by me is this: use real eyes. Realeys. The true path to divinity within you is just realizing that's already who we all are. Let's learn to live in equality. Let's follow the path of not only self-acceptance, which is key, because no matter what, wherever you go, that's exactly where you're going to find yourself. So if we cannot avoid ourselves, then why do we avoid the truth of our own divine nature? I'm talking with you from my heart, and in truth, I've written about it in many of my books, especially the one entitled A Metaphysical Interpretation of the Bible. About the path to our divine being. Reach within and find that sacred space and allow your personal dynamics to unfold as that divine creature. Shanti Satyam in Hindi simply means peaceful truth. Thank you.